Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Marty Smith Podcast. It's a new week, a lot of great energy. We're excited to be here. We appreciate y'all hanging out. I'm Marty Smith. Wes Blankenship is with me. Travis is behind the board. We have a cast of thousands, and, man, I had a week. First of all, I just want to get started with weather. Why is it that, like, the weather in Charlotte where I live is terrible right now? All right? It's 30 degrees, but it's rain. I don't understand that. It's below the freezing point, but it's not frozen. Why?
Look, I shared all my meteorological knowledge.
Disappointed, Wes.
When he was on, and it has evaporated into a puff. It is a wisp. It's gone.
I'm disappointed, man. You're supposed to be my guy with that Mississippi State doctorate degree, honorary doctorate from the meteorological school in Starkville, and I thought you were going to have a great answer for me about like
the
vortexes.
Mississippi State fans love me. The Mississippi State fans really like me, and so do the Arkansas fans. So maybe I can swing a deal with them if I want to change career paths.
So that tells me you're being sarcastic. What's the beef with the Mississippi State and Arkansas?
They
really do like you. Okay.
They really do. I think it's because in the SEC, Georgia and those two teams don't really cross paths too much. So it is what it is, and I'm not saying they're my 1A or 1B or anything, but I like the Hogs. I do.
I like the Hogs too. I'm a big Hogs fan. Love me some Sam Pittman. Love me some Barry Odom.
B.O., man.
Love me some Justin Moore, who's the most Arkansas son of a gun on the planet. By the way, how about Justin Moore has a sports talk show now? Did you know this?
That guy can do it all.
He has
He's
a
got
daily
his own podcast.
Yes.
He's coming for you, man.
Gets up every single day, drives like an hour and something to Little Rock to do this in-studio 4-hour, I think, which, morning talk sports radio is a commitment because you're leaving your house at 4, you're getting there at 5:30, you're on 6 to 10, and then you're driving all the way back home.
Local sports talk radio, on your dial, driving in.
Yes.
That's a brilliant move, honestly.
Why?
Because he's crossing genres a little bit. And he's got name recognition now with a new fan base that might not have ever checked him out.
Listen, he definitely knows. Like, if there's anybody that knows about Arkansas sports, it's that guy. I mean, all of them. He knows every single stat for every Hogs basketball player.
103.7 The Buzz.
That's it.
Travis just sent me.
All right, 103.7 The Buzz. He's even on FM.
Marty, you were talking to a battered, beaten.
What's wrong?
Shell of a man today. My
What's
daughter's second birthday party this weekend.
Oh, no. Did you have a bouncy house?
We have a tent. We got a tent that she's a big fan of. But before that, I was doing mostly dry January with my wife. Obviously, I was wet at the national championship.
Yes.
I was saturated. But I dried out, got home, did the dry January. And I was like Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame and instantly finding a strobe light at LSU. I had drinks. I had birthday cake. I wasn't eating sugar either. And I think my body was just like, whoa, man, you went 0 to 60 on us. And then on top of that, I believe that I ate a charcuterie that had stayed out beyond its shelf life.
All right, I got a lot to unpack here.
I'm hurting, man.
Are you puking?
Yeah.
So if you throw up on the show.
I'm hydrating right now.
Okay, what are you drinking?
This is a Body Armor Light. And okay. I got to tell you, I don't think anyone has done this yet. I put sparkling water into the electrolyte drink, and it is refreshing on my stomach. And it's also giving my body what it needs to bounce back. So Body Armor, if y'all want to collaborate on this chemistry knowledge, hit us up.
Body Armor, hit us up at Wesson Ship, at Marty Smith ESPN, at Travis Rockhold, and at Outsider. Let us know. We have inventory. Another thing that I got to unpack here is charcuterie. Is that how you say it?
Charcuterie.
It's a U, not a ooh.
Charcuterie?
I think it's charcuterie.
I guess it just depends on where you're from. But, charcuterie, the unsung hero of the 2021 Coffeetown football season.
Really? In what ways?
Charcuterie was a player that brought a little bit of everything to the table.
And so he was a kind of a Swiss Army knife, Lynn Bowden type of player,
teams, offense, passing game threat, run game threat, just did everything. But anyways, I'm battling today, but look, I'm not going to miss the show.
I appreciate you being here. It's very important that you're here, even though you're playing hurt. There's nothing I hate more than puking. I don't like it. I do my very best to avoid it. I don't care how bad I feel, but I'm sorry that you're in that predicament. And you with your dry January, you not only didn't drink, you cut out sugar on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the year, I don't eat a lot of sugar. I try not to. And I think it is just as toxic to you as drinking is. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible for you. Went off the rails a little bit around the holidays, but usually kind of snap myself back into the right frame of mind around January, February. Maybe have a little something around the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl party. You don't want to be the weirdo at the Super Bowl party that's not having fun. So you step out of that for a little bit and then get right back to it. So yeah, I'm just trying to really balance these nutritional decisions and reconcile them with, now I'm learning it's going to be tough with a February birthday every year.
How did she do with her birthday? So second birthday. So How many of her, look at, everybody always talks about my hair. I'm trying to get it put together here. Did she have any little buddies over?
Yeah, our neighbors came over for a little bit. We'll have like a bigger get together with like more of her friends in the spring when they can go outside and run around and really get all of the energy out. But our neighbors came over and they had one of those really hard bouncy balls, like a Super Ball kind of thing. Should not be thrown in the house.
That those things will do some damage, man.
I was dodging that.
That wasn't a party favor, was it? Y'all didn't give them that as a party favor, did you?
No. That was one of the gifts that she got from our neighbors.
Oh, I see. Well, you need to
it's conveniently been lost.
Disassociate from that neighbor. Sounds like to me.
They're good neighbors. What have you done since we spoke last?
A lot of things, actually. I had an amazing time down at Auburn last Monday. I went down to the Plains and flew into the Columbus, Georgia airport. Have you ever been there?
Not the airport.
Dude,
I've been to the River City.
It's the smallest airport I think I've been in. You land and you walk in. I think there's only 2 gates, possibly 3. But it was fascinating because I exited the airplane, I walked into the airport, and straight out the door of the airport on the other side. It wasn't like I went through a big, long terminal. There was no such thing. It was one door on one side to the airplane. It was a door on the other side to the exit. And I'd never really experienced that small of an airport before, and I grew up in Nowhere, Virginia. I've been to Roanoke Airport. I think this thing was smaller than that one. But went on over to the Plains, and Alabama was playing Auburn in basketball. Auburn's number 1 in the country under Bruce Pearl, and they call Auburn Arena the jungle. That's what they call it. All right, it's the jungle.
Absolutely nuts.
It was crazy in there, man. I give them credit. They now the team's really good. They're easy to root for. They got a lot of dudes who are going to do great things at the next level. But what Bruce Pearl brings from an energy perspective and an awareness perspective is something else. And like, they have the opportunity to go play for a national championship. If they don't get hurt, they have the horses to make a Final Four run. There's no doubt. Jabari Smith might be the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft next summer. And Walker Kessler, I mean, his line the other night at the game I was covering was like 14, 12, 8 blocks, 4 steals, and affected 30 shots. I mean, he was everywhere. And so they got it going on. And that place was cool. Really appreciated the opportunity to be there. So there was that. Lainey's birthday was this weekend. She turned 24. We had a great time during her birthday. I made a big campfire. We drank a little bit of Mayomi Pinot Noir. That's our favorite wine. Again, hello, Mayomi folks. We have inventory. And
what's the flavor profile on Mayomi?
It's very light. It's a sweeter, Pinot Noir, which I like. I'm not a huge dry experience guy. I would rather have something with more pop and a fruitier, sweeter experience. Now, when I'm getting into the Cabernet world, I want smoky. I love smoky, deep, thick, gnarly Cabernets, but when I'm on the lighter side with Pinot, I want it to be fruitier, almost Malbec-ish. How about that?
Watch those sommeliers sniff a cork and tell you all of the things that it smells like and tastes like.
I interviewed a guy on Ryan McGee and I interviewed a guy, and this was a happenstance random thing. We interviewed a guy named Fred Minnick, who is one of the foremost whiskey, bourbon expert tasters on the planet Earth. And the way that he learned that he was an expert taster, because I asked him, how do you get that job? What comes, do you just get hammered enough to where you figure it out? He is a veteran. He's a United States military veteran. His deal was he was doing some rehabilitation, and they gave him potato chips. And the potato chips are apparently a food that activate many different portions of the taste palate on the tongue. And realized that he had this unbelievable ability to taste, and lo and behold, he makes his way on. And now, if you follow him on Instagram, he's doing tastings with the who's who of the celebrity landscape. And he's an awesome dude, man. We had no idea when we interviewed him that he was a veteran. We had no clue what we were getting into, and it was one of our favorite interviews we've ever done on Marty and McGee. That's my favorite part of interviewing people. It's my favorite kind of interview when they share something with you that you didn't expect, and that's what y'all are going to hear on today's episode, by the way. We'll get into this in just a little bit, but our guest today is Lauren Alaina. And my interview with her, I thought was going to go kind of one direction, and it went a completely different direction. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it. We want to know everything you think about it, because it really moved me. She is such a light. And speaking of lights, I want to just shout this guy out, Wes. Let me get my notes here. Anthony Harris. Have you heard this story? The Philadelphia Eagles safety. Have you heard this? This is awesome.
No.
So there was a young girl, 11 years old, in Austin, Texas, who lost her father and grandfather in a very short amount of time. Well, she was having her first church daddy-daughter dance, and, of course, the two male figures in her life were now deceased. And she was a huge fan of Anthony Harris. So her mother reaches out to Anthony on social media, tells him the situation, and asks if he will take Aubrey Soap, is the 11-year-old girl's name, to this father-daughter dance at church. And not only does he agree immediately to do that, he also pays for her dress, shoes, hair, makeup, the whole thing. And flies to Austin, Texas from Philadelphia, takes this 11-year-old girl to this dance, and makes her feel really special. And I loved seeing the news report. I randomly happened upon this news report about this moment. And she's 11 years old. And if this is somebody that's your hero, you're going to be a little awkward. What do I talk to him about? I don't know what to do. I'm super nervous. I got anxiety. And Anthony was so sweet with her, according to the mom. Made her feel so special, so welcome. Nothing was awkward. Nothing was weird. And, what an amazing deed. What an amazing thing to do
cool, man.
For somebody who's going through something.
She'll never forget it. Ever.
She'll never forget it, and it also infuses her with confidence. And that is an immeasurable dynamic. And, look, daddies and daughters, that's a very special thing, and it's a very important thing. It's our job as girl dads to make sure our girls have self-confidence, because that's one of the most powerful traits that anybody can have, especially young girls. Yep. Build them up. Tell them they're beautiful. Tell them you love them. Tell them that they're doing a great job in school. Do your best to help them in all those arenas. And so this young girl, this 11-year-old Aubrey Soap, doesn't have her daddy anymore. And here Anthony Harris stands in for him at this daddy-daughter dance. I love that story. I wanted to share it because, like, I did a speech the other night for my kids' school. And one of the things that I was sharing is, in today's world as a parent, we got to meet them where they are. Now, yours is too, Wes. Well, obviously, you met her where she is because you're puking up the cake that you got her for her second birthday. But as they get into adolescence and there's so many outside distractions and so many outside influences, we got to go get them where they are because they ain't coming to us. Like, adolescents are not going to come to you as a parent unless they're a unicorn. I got a couple buddies who have kids that'll do that. But for the most part, as a parent of teenagers, I have one teenager. I'm going to have another one in a couple weeks here, a couple months, I guess, here. You got to go get them. And I just appreciate the fact that...
What did you do with how'd the talk go? Did you bring the house down?
Well, with Cameron?
Yeah.
No, I didn't bring the house down. I just kind of explained to him kind of how all that stuff unfolds, and that he has to be.
I meant the speech. I meant the speech at school.
I thought you meant the talk.
No, I mean, we can devote an entire episode to how that went.
We can, because let me tell you,
dads who need advice on that.
The funniest part about it was, like, he would bring questions up to Laney, and Laney just goes, "You gotta go ask your dad. Gotta go ask your dad. I can't answer that one. I'm your mom. Your dad's got to answer that one."
That's great.
Speech went awesome, and I love the opportunity to do that because I think it's funny. You know, people have a certain perspective on what I'm about. They see Marty and McGee, they see us cutting up, they listen to the podcast, you and me are cutting up. And then when you're in a moment where you're really offering vulnerability and a perspective in a different way, you know, you can kind of see them like, damn, all right, I didn't know that this person was going to do it this way. And I love doing that, man. Vulnerability is a very powerful trait.
No doubt about it. All right, what is Vivian's carpool question of the week? We need a jingle. Can we make a jingle?
All right, Travis, you got to add that to the list. I just asked Travis West. I told him I wanted him to create us an open, like where he cuts, like takes different bites from different guests or whatever. Like, this is the Marty Smith podcast at Outsider. Boom, boom. But, you know, that's what we are.
I think Travis can do that.
And Travis has that ability. He has that talent. Vivian's carpool question of the week is this: is it liberty and justice for all, or liberty and justice for all?
All right, let's break this one down. Liberty, I think, is a common mistake.
Oh, yeah.
For the youth to think that that's a word. And, I mean, you Google liberty. I just Googled liberty, and Google just flat out tells you it's showing results for liberty. It's not mincing words. It's already letting you know, hey, this is not a word. But here's my answer to, is it liberty or liberty? The definition of liberty means freedom. So I would tell Vivian that if she wants to say liberty, she has the freedom to say that.
Let me tell you something about Vivian, Wesley. She'll do whatever she wants.
Yep.
I love the opportunity to hear her just talk. She went on this tangent today during carpool about dad. Imagine if the school bus just said magic school bus. What if if somebody put magic up there on the back of the school bus? And I was like, well, what if that was your school bus and it said magic? She goes, well, I wouldn't want to be on it. And I said, you wouldn't want, it's a magic school bus and you don't want to be on it? She said, yep, it's too, I even wrote it down. She goes, yep, too crazy. They don't appreciate their field trips, Dad, because they go on awesome field trips once a week on the magic bus. And so they're yelling, oh no, I don't want to go back to the classroom. She said, Daddy, I got so tired on the bus in kindergarten. But we had nap
Why
time.
am I on this show, man? It needs to be Marty and Vivian.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Dude, she's a trip. She said, I'd get so tired on the bus in kindergarten, but we had nap time. We had 10 minutes of talking time before the nap time, and then we could sleep, but I never slept. So I'd be so tired. But now I'm a lot older in third grade. I sure wish we had that sleeping time now. It would be everybody's favorite time. Get out of here, recess. That is Vivian's soliloquy this morning behind what she wished was the magic school bus. I asked her if a unicorn drove the magic school bus, and she went, I don't know.
No, it's Miss Frizzle. I was wondering about that, about the age range that knows about the magic school bus when you brought that up. It was a TV show when I was in elementary school, and I'm very well versed in the field trips that they go on, but Vivian nailed it. They don't care about a normal field trip to go see the Big Peanut in Plains, Georgia. They're going to Ralphie's Blood Cell.
Is that where y'all went? Was that a field trip? Was that a field trip, the Big Peanut?
The Big Peanut.
What town's that in?
Plains, and you can also go by Jimmy Carter's house.
Plains, Georgia, the Big Peanut, and Jimmy Carter's house. Those are the big field trips down there in Dahlonega.
No. That's all one field trip.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you also go to Andersonville, like a Civil War prison. There's a lot. They definitely get some bang for your buck on that Big Peanut field trip.
We went over to Virginia Tech on a field trip, I think, in, third or fourth grade maybe. And then I'm sure I've told you about the seventh grade trip where we go to Colonial Williamsburg and Busch Gardens.
That was every year, yeah.
And we went to Busch Gardens when I was in seventh grade, and I wore this flip-up Nike, like, cycling hat. Mm-hmm. And it's the only thing that's more unfortunate in past photographs of yours truly was peroxide Marty back in my early NASCAR days when I fell into a bucket of bleach, and my hair was white.
Man, some photos are leaking out of your boy Joey B with some highlighter hair from his high school days.
He's not alone. There's a photograph out there on the internet somewhere of Dale Jr. and me. And I'm probably like 24. We're probably like 24, 25 years old, something like that. So it's a solid 20 years ago. And my hair is ridiculous. It is peroxide tips, and it's growing in on the bottom, but I have on a suit from Steinmart or whatever, and my dad's tie, and we're in New York City, and it's country comes to town, and it's just ridiculous. And he has like this curl thing going on in his hair. We were just a mess, dude.
Yeah. Hey, what'd you think about the Clash?
I loved every bit of it, and I was very skeptical. I thought it was a really good opportunity for NASCAR to take a chance, but to put all that asphalt inside a football stadium and build a quarter-mile racetrack and only have a little time window for the asphalt to cure. It's in that market the week before the Super Bowl. Who is anybody going to show up? But I watched every bit of it on TV, and I tell you, it was an awesome experience is what it was. They put a great event on. They had a lot of great celebrities there. It was, I think they had Danny Trejo there. They had Reggie Bush there. They had Jeff Gordon there. They had the L.A. Dodgers manager there. They just had all kinds of celebrity grand marshals. Ice Cube performed at the intermission and killed it. It's just funny. Like, again, I don't spend a whole lot of time on Twitter. I'm never on that medium anymore. But seeing how people responded to it, I read a great piece Bob Pockers did from Fox Sports that it was a resounding victory for NASCAR. And a guy that I respect a ton, Jeff Gluck from The Athletic, he said that he cannot remember a NASCAR event that had that kind of – Jeff was there – had that kind of energy from participants, from ownership, from sponsors, from network TV. Everybody involved was just really excited about the prospects. And then when the prospects ultimately come to fruition at the highest level, I mean, the racing was aggressive. That's what we all expected. There were tempers. Ryan Blaney's throwing his Hans device at Eric Jones. Joey Logano beats Kyle Busch in a really good drag race to the end. I mean, look, I don't know what NASCAR dreamed of, but for me, that was as good as they could possibly have hoped for.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're trying a lot of different things out with the numbers on the cars, the next generation of the cars themselves, and it just looks sweet. To me, it's a great way to bring it into the next generation, whatever that looks like, but also maintain the spirit of it. And the coolest thing about NASCAR is going around to all of the different tracks throughout the USA and absorbing a little bit of what that place is all about. And they totally LA'd it. They got it. They nailed that.
An amazing, iconic venue, stadium that has hosted so many memorable sporting events. The facade of the LA Coliseum, that buttress, that it's just iconic. The buttress openings, the torch. Jeff Gordon is, ceremonially lighting this torch atop the stadium facade there. Just an amazing job. And Ben Kennedy, who's the 30-year-old heir apparent to the NASCAR throne, that it was his baby. I mean, it was his idea. And everybody jumped on board with it. They knew they had to try something else. The Clash has been a throwaway event for years at Daytona. They tried something a little bit different last year, running it on the road course. Kyle Busch won that race. Fine. But this was, all right, I'm going to stand in against 1991 Nolan Ryan, and I'm going to give it and you're putting NASCAR in the LA market. All right? This is not a hardcore NASCAR market. But we're going to stand in there against 91 Nolan Ryan, and we're going to dig our cleats in, and we're going to swing like Matt Stairs. We're going to come out of our cleats, and we just might connect. And if we connect, that sumbitch is going a long way.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. And, kudos times 1,000 to NASCAR. I think it was a victory for the sport. And I know the drivers feel that way. If you saw what they said afterwards, it was a really good job. And just so y'all know, we're going to be at Daytona. Little teaser for you guys. Wes, myself, Travis, we're going down to the Daytona 500.
We're going, man.
We're going to be down there. We're going to interview a ton of drivers here on the Marty Smith podcast, and we're going to have an absolute blast down there. I'll be down there for ESPN as well. I'll be covering the Daytona 500 for the Worldwide Leader. And on Friday there at the racetrack, ahead of the Daytona 500, the Marty Smith podcast and Outsider will be there, and we're going to interview a ton of guys. So can't wait for you guys to hear that. We look forward to doing it more than you could ever know. But look, the sport has momentum, and it needs momentum. And I appreciate that Steve Phelps, the president of the sport, Steve O'Donnell, executive vice president, Ben Kennedy, all of these folks in the leadership positions understand this is a transitional moment for NASCAR that we have to embrace. We have to be aggressive so that it becomes a transformational moment for NASCAR. And it's just a huge win. LA Coliseum was a huge win.
What do you think about the cars? From someone that's on the outside looking in of a diehard racing fan. I mean, I keep up with the sport, but obviously anytime you make a design change of any kind, you're going to piss some people off.
Well, it's been a major work in progress. The driver's input has been very important. And what they've done is they put a race car on the track that is sexy. I mean, it's a good-looking race car. And there's so much difference in this car from previous iterations of the car. I'm not getting into that. It's way too inside baseball for our bunch who's listening to this thing. But aesthetically, it is a good-looking car. And not only, is it different in terms of a lot of the components that make up the piece, it also looks different. NASCAR made the decision this year to reposition the number into the front part of the door, the forward part of the door, and they have plastered sponsors down the side of the race car, which I noticed yesterday. Like, I was looking at that race, I was looking at the Busch Clash in a different way than I've watched racing in a while, because I just wanted to see, how are these Los Angeles fans cheering for this? Are they really there for the Pardi and for Ice Cube and for Pitbull and or are they race people? When those guys were getting aggressive on the racetrack, you can't help but love it, whether you're a race fan or not. And that's what they were doing. When you got a guy getting pissed off enough to throw stuff at a competitor, you love that. It's like, I will pay attention to hockey if one guy's beating the crap out of the other guy. I'm not paying attention to hockey otherwise. It could be the most amazing slap shot in the history of the game. Cool.
Violence is the great unifier for regional sports. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, and conflict sells. Conflict has sold from the beginning of time, and it will always sell. And like, I really liked how the cars looked on the racetrack. And it was wild, man. Some of those lower camera angles, you got to see that whole sponsor. Whereas if it's just on the hood or just on the deck lid, you don't see it as clearly. And so, again, a transitional time for the sport where every single marketing dollar is so vital. You're offering more opportunity for exposure to the companies that are investing in the sport. And I think now, I'm sure there had to be some restructured deals. I haven't talked to anybody in the garage. I will when I get down to Daytona, much more in depth about what exactly is going on. But I would imagine there were some restructured sponsorship deals based on the way that these things are laid out now. And look, to me, it's a huge win.
All right, Super Bowl. I know you're going with your guy. You're riding with Joey B.
I don't know why betting against Joe Burrow at this point seems like a bad decision. You look at it, the Rams have a ton of talent. They built this team for one reason, and they're on the precipice of that reason. They bring in first ballot Hall of Famers like Von Miller and OBJ. And, Matt Stafford wins this game. Matt Stafford's a Hall of Famer.
No doubt.
The statistics are astounding. Matt Stafford wins a Super Bowl, give him a jacket. Mm-hmm. So, you look at all of that, and that's what they are built for that. With Aaron Donald, with Von Miller, OBJ, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, on and on, right?
People are talking about Stafford, but Donald, I feel like, is the one that has to be just spit and vinegar this week.
No question.
Thinking about what this could mean for his career. He had a chance against the Patriots in Atlanta, and now he's got another one. There's just nothing that tells me that this will be too big for Burrow. And I think a lot of QBs in the league at this point in their careers, you would say the future is bright, just not this time. But there's nothing that Burrow's done in his career to this point in the league that tells me this is going to frighten him or knock him off center. No,
he is equating it this week to, my team played for a high school state championship. That's what it feels like. Like that's how
that's
his
scary
mind.
For the Rams. That's a scary thing for the Rams to hear.
That's how his mind works. And again. You look at last week, for example. I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. If you look at it on paper, Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs. Who are you picking? But just based on and Kansas City Chiefs at home.
Yeah.
In a crazy environment at Arrowhead Stadium. Most people are going to pick
Chiefs.
Yeah, based on a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. A lot of reasons, man. They got studs everywhere. They're at home. Patrick Mahomes is a magician. He has great chemistry with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and these guys. And on top of that, experience. The Chiefs had been there before, and Joe Burrow just Joe Burrowed them. I mean, he's evading sacks. He's using his legs to run for crucial first downs. So, look, man, I don't know why you'd bet against the dude. And I've said it here last week or the week before that or the week before that or the week before that. I'm just thrilled for him. I'm thrilled for his family. And he has become the darling of the NFL. He has become, based on performance, and not only performance, but he's got the glasses on, he's got the ice on, he's got childhood hero rappers of his hitting him up on social media. He's given these people his jersey. I mean, it's just a fairy tale story. This kid from small town Ohio, who again, I think I said this last week, loves those roots, has cultivated those roots, has given back constantly to those roots. And that matters to people, Wes, especially blue-collar America. They want a guy who got out and did great things to champion them.
Yeah. No doubt, man. No, I have a hard time picking against him. I do. I mean, I want to see Stafford win it because I've been following his career since he left Georgia. He and his family have gone through a great deal of strife through that and through other things, through his wife's health issues and all of it. And it would mean a lot, I think, not just for Georgia fans, but just people that have kept up with his career. Lions fans, they're pulling for him as well. So that's what my rooting interest is. I'm not going to shy away from that, but it's not going to shock me if Burrow just continues to look as cool as he does right now.
Nothing's going to shock me in this game, dude. Whatever the outcome is, it will not shock me. I just hope it's like 24-21, or what. I hope it is a game that in the fourth quarter we're all glued to that game, where it could be won with a field goal in the last couple of minutes. And that's the way these playoffs have gone. The NFL has won. We're talking about NASCAR being successful with that experience out in L.A. The NFL playoffs this year has been, it's maybe the greatest ever. I know we're prisoners of the moment a lot of the time, but I have been captivated by it, and I'm not often captivated by NFL football. How much money do you typically spend on Super Bowl squares?
It's funny, when I was working in an office, I would spend a lot less on it. Because I was looking at the paper, I was holding it, and I was thinking more about where my money was going. Now my buddy lives in Washington State, is sending us our squares. I'm like, yeah, I'll just, I'll never see this money again. I'll put hundreds of dollars in it potentially.
We, Lainey and I are in multiple Super Bowl squares experiences, and I think we're in for $300. I think we're in for $300, and the one pays $250 a quarter. So we got a real shot, and I forget how many. I think we have the one that pays $250 a quarter is my neighbor right down the street, and I think we bought 6 of his squares. So we got a shot, and we got a couple of we got 0-0. We got
0-0's, yeah.
0-0's good because it could be nothing, or it could be 10-10.
10.
And that could be really, really beneficial. We'll see. But I think we're in for $300. We might be for more than that, but I think it is $300. All right, now it's time to share an interview that really meant a lot to me. Lauren Alaina is a superstar in Nashville, Tennessee, and someone that I knew a little bit about. I didn't know a lot about her, but Laney's a big fan of the person and follows her on social media and sees the way that she lives her life and really appreciated that. So when Travis booked Lauren for an interview, I was thrilled and really started to kind of dive into her story. What a lovely human being. And this week she'll be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. She will be welcomed to the Grand Ole Opry officially as a member. And because of that, we felt like it was important to get her on the show and have a chat. And it went in a lot of directions I did not anticipate. I think you guys are going to learn a lot about her here. And I know that A lot of y'all are fans. There's going to be new people listening to the podcast because she's our guest. Y'all are really going to enjoy this. This is Lauren Alaina on the Marty Smith Podcast. So let's start with the World Series. I can't imagine the vulnerability and how stripped you feel when you're standing there at the pitcher's mound in front of the globe and you're about to sing one of the most difficult songs in the world that there is to sing, period. So what are your emotions in that moment?
Oh, I'm going to tell you, my daddy's a Braves fan. It's the only reason I did that deal, so my daddy could go to the World Series, because I think that's the most nervous I've ever been in my life. And it's because I've messed it up before. And let me tell you, people called me un-American when I was 16 years old and I messed it up, and people literally said I should be kicked out of the country and that I was un-American. It's not a song that you're allowed to mess up. Not even once. So I haven't never done it since. Like it scarred me so badly that I've never done it again. And I always said it would take the Braves going to the World Series to get me to go. And I'll be danged if they didn't go. And I'll be danged if they didn't call. So there I was.
Yep.
Marching my hind end out there to that pitcher's mound. Just.
So what did you learn about yourself by facing those bullies?
Hey, I killed it. I am so proud of that.
You did a great
it's
job.
Also one of the most amazing moments of my life, because I don't have a lot of fear with performing. I don't really have very much at all as far as performing goes, except for the National Anthem, because of something that happened to me. I was really young and it was a really big deal, and I faced it. So that made me pretty proud. I'll never do it again, but I did it.
So you're done. I was going to ask you. So you're done? You're one and done now. Super Bowl. What the Super Bowl calls, Lauren? Super Bowl calls.
If I got asked to do the Super Bowl, I would probably consider it.
I know that you've been very vocal too about depression and facing that and managing that. So explain to me how you have to do that. What's the process for you of managing that?
Well, I have lots of different techniques. I've been through quite a bit in my 27 years, and I've actually struggled with depression and anxiety disorder since, well, I guess most of my life. Honestly, I wasn't really diagnosed with it until I was older, but I was raised in a household with alcoholism, and a couple of pretty traumatic things happened early in my childhood, and I didn't have the tools, obviously, to deal with a lot of the things that happened, and I ended up having a pretty severe eating disorder for a really long time and just did not take very good care of myself. So I would say around 20 years old, I started trying to find other ways to cope with the things happening, like meditation and praying and staying on a schedule. It's really important for me to be on a schedule. I need to eat well, drink a gallon of water every day.
Girl. I love it.
That is the minimum I'm allowed to drink. I've got this one too.
You're packing all kinds of heat.
Hey, you don't even know. Well, I'm hiding the other. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I try to drink a lot of water, and I try to keep myself on a schedule. And I found if I get off of it, it really throws me off. And this pandemic, obviously, what was a schedule? So I really struggled the last couple of years. I actually went to the doctor, and I went on antidepressants to help me get through the time. And now I'm getting back to a schedule, so I'm feeling like I'm needing less support and I'm able to kind of take care of myself. But I think it's different for everyone. But for me, I think it's important, if I'm giving advice, is to know what helps you. And for me, it's eating well, exercising daily, drinking water, meditating, praying, reading. I love to read, finding quiet time, because I'm super extroverted, but that also wears me down after a while. So I kind of have a routine that I try to stick to, and it works for me.
one thing that I find impacts my mental health is social media. And I will say this again. I said this to someone else with whom I was chatting this morning, that comparison is the thief of joy. And we use those mediums and we try to put on this certain vision of the way we're living our lives. But so many social media avenues can be so vile and so ruthless, especially for people in the public eye. So, and you're very active. How do those mediums impact your mental health?
Whew, that's a good one. Okay, so I have restrictions on my phone. Actually, I started doing this about a year ago, especially because the pandemic. I was sitting home and I found myself like on my phone all the time. So I didn't even know you could do this. Someone told me. I restrict my social media apps to an hour a day. So if I'm on them longer than an hour, they shut off. And I found that first of all, I'm reading more and doing other things more with my day that make me feel better about myself. And I don't have as much time to read what people have to say about me. Usually that hour of my day is, we try to post once a day. It's been a little difficult in this time because I'm not doing as much, or I haven't been. I'm very busy now, but before it was a little hard to post every day, but I work every day to make sure I have a post. I'm very hands-on with that, and pretty much in control of all the content going on my pages. And then I try to, get off of it and find other things to feed into my ego, because really what we're all trying to do is go and see good things about ourselves.
That's it.
Right?
You nailed it.
So we're going to those websites for affirmation, and that's a lack internally already. If you're going to seek it, you feel like you don't have it. And then when you already feel like powerless or like something's bothering you about yourself, you're accidentally going to find that. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to obsess over that, and the problem just gets worse. So I try not to read DMs. I try not to read the comments. My team's pretty good about too. They have access to the page. So if you ever think you're going to send me a DM and somebody else ain't going to see it, somebody sees it before I see them. I can almost promise.
Shut it down, Jack. I'm not famous. You're famous. I'm a guy who can walk into the restaurant over here, especially if it's a SEC football town, and people will go, "Oh, hey, what's going on, Marty? Great to see you." But you go everywhere and people know who you are. Fame's not an easy thing to manage.
No, it's not.
What did you learn about fame that you didn't expect was coming, and how does that impact your life?
So I came into the public eye at 15. Yep. I was on American Idol. So that's a pretty impressionable age. Not pretty. It is the most, I would say, impressionable age.
Tip of the spear, Lauren. Tip of the impressionable spear right there.
Yeah. It's like I was a sophomore in high school, and I just loved to sing. And I tried out for American Idol, and I got second place, and I got catapulted into fame. And I think the best thing that ever happened to me, and I just wrote a book, actually, and
I want to discuss
I talk about this in my book, but I became instantly famous. I didn't become instantly successful. So, and I talk about this in the book because fame is just it's like this made up thing that people just like elevate. They know more about me, but I don't have like superpowers. I'm not like a hero or anything. I just happened to be able to sing, and people liked it and voted for me, and my life changed, and more people look at me and pay attention to what I'm doing. But as a 16-year-old, I was really unprepared for that, obviously. And I brought up the success and the fame thing because honestly, I wasn't super successful in my career at first. I mean, comparison, right? For where I am now and what I've achieved now, the first 5 to 6 years of my career were very difficult, lots of no's, couldn't pay my bills for a few years, I was still famous. People still stopped me everywhere I went, telling me how lucky I was, telling me how they wish they had my life. And I'm trying to like maintain this like false narrative that I'm like,
everything's great.
I'm rich. Yeah. I'm successful. I'm like a superstar. And so that was a good lesson for me early on. First of all, it taught me to work hard because I am now, I would say, very successful.
Yes, ma'am.
And being unsuccessful early on made me hungrier for success, I would say, made me work harder, made me appreciate it more now. But it also taught me that it's all perception, because I was severely struggling financially, personally. I had a severe eating disorder. Like, my health was not going well. And people still thought, like, oh my gosh, Lauren Alaina is this, Lauren Alaina is that. And I think it just taught me that it is all like perception and not necessarily reality. And that people kind of believe what you tell them, you know? And so it humanized all famous people to me. Because I thought, well, I'm probably not the only one that's struggling.
No doubt.
And then other people that are famous became my peers, and we're all struggling. We're all humans. And like Instagram and Facebook has like falsified all of our lives and made people think that we're like these perfect humans that walk around with this perfect skin and these perfect lives. And none of us are perfect. No one's perfect. One person's ever been perfect. Yep. The end. Yep. So I think being famous so early and having a couple of missteps kind of just taught me that it's an amazing thing that I've achieved. And the more famous you are, the more people you can reach. And I would not take away the fame, because I love connection, you know, and the more fame I have, the more connection I have. But I've also had to put a lot of boundaries around it, because it can't be my definition. Because as soon as you let your fame define you, it's not a real thing.
I'm going to say it one more time. You're so smart beyond your years. I mean, it's pretty remarkable, and I love it. I don't want to belabor this, but there is probably going to be somebody listening to this chat that you and I are having who's going through an eating disorder, or going through some sort of anxiety battle, or going through something where they're trying desperately to change something about themselves. What would your message be to them?
Okay, this is not a plug, but it kind of is. I wrote this book. I would say read the book, because I'm going to give you like a small summary of what my advice is, but the whole reason I wrote the book was for that person, whoever you are. The book's called Getting Good at Being You, and it's kind of, I laid out all of the hardest things in my life, really put it out there, and how I overcame them. And what I would like to say is, and this was really important for me to convey in the book, I am the most outgoing, smiley, loud person you'll ever meet. You would have never thought at any point in my life I was depressed. I was having 10 panic attacks a day. I was going through horrible breakups. I was losing my stepfather to cancer. Through all of that, I got on that stage and I smiled and I performed and I pushed through. And what I would really like to encourage people to do is give themselves grace, because there is no one who's not going through something. And we have a really hard time seeing ourselves like from the outside looking in. So I have the whole book says it, but there's a chapter in the book called If I Was My Best Friend. And I really encourage people to become their own best friend. And I would say, don't say something to yourself that you would not look at your best friend and say, or your child and say, or your mother, or someone the person you love the most in this world. You wouldn't look at them and say that. You should not look at yourself and say it. It's very hard to do. I have to practice what I preach every day. I wake up with the uglies. I don't have some kind of equation I have solved There are days where I am very negative about myself and I say things I shouldn't say. It is a process. No one has ever arrived at the place of like, oh, I'm amazing. But this book is very encouraging in the fact that we all are going through something, and I've had different steps in my life where I thought, oh, hey, I've got it, and then something else happens, and you have to go back through and reset yourself again, you know. But I would say grace for yourself is number one, and talking to yourself in a way that's loving, because you're the only person you can never, ever, ever get away from.
Nothing could fill your tank more than one of your heroes walking out on the grandest stage in all of country music. Look, I'm just going to give you the floor, because that moment made me a little misty-eyed when I mean, it was a phenomenal moment. Just go.
I still cannot believe it. When my manager and I started working together 7 years ago, almost 8 years. It'll be 8 years. Well, we're in our 8th year. Anyway, we made a list of goals, and I reached them all, except for being a member of the Grand Ole Opry. So I've been like, I really want to be a member of the Grand Ole Opry. It's like, I want it more than a Grammy. I've said it in every interview, and I'm telling you, I'm hard to surprise. I'm nosy. I like to be in the middle of everything. I need to know everything happening at all times. I need to be prepared. I need a plan. I need a schedule. And so I walked out on the Grand Ole Opry. I play there once a month already, which is actually what the members are like. That's part of the gig.
That's the requisite, right?
Yeah, but I exceed that already just because I love it. It is the most important stage to me by far. Holds so much in my heart. And I walked out there, and they were doing like these video promotions all night, and I'd seen them all night. And then, you know, they said pause between your second and third song because there's a video that's going to play for the military or something. I can't even remember what it was for. It's all a blur, really. But I look back, and Trish Yearwood comes up on this thing, and she and I are very close. She wrote the foreword to the book. I've been on her cooking show a few times. She calls me Trisha Jr. I'm in her phone as Junior, like very close with her. So I was just like, oh, there's Trisha. And she goes, Junior, is that you? And I was like, oh, that's cute. They told her that I was going to be playing when she recorded the video. She goes, hold on. I got to come tell you something. I got a surprise. And I was like, what is she talking about? So then she like walks out on the stage. Well, the book had just come out. So that's where my brain went. Is she's coming to tell me something about the book. We've done something awesome. This is so neat. And I'm like, hey. And she was like, oh, I know your mom's here. And my mom was there. I didn't know that. And she said, and your dad's here. I had this really funny moment where I was like, oh no, my dad is not here. That is my stepdad. And this is very awkward. So I was like, I'm like looking around, like, you know, when you're embarrassed and you're like trying to look, and I'm like looking to my left, I look to my right, and I'm like, I'm on stage. What am I? And then they like turn the lights up, and she goes, no, your dad's here. And I saw my dad, and my dad and I have this thing where he gives, like, when I was little, I always held his pinky. And so I look, and in the back of the Grand Ole Opry, I see my dad's pinky. Mm. And you can see, if you watch the video, you can see the light bulb go ding. And I go, because I knew no one would let that happen without my dad being there. And so I think when I realized Dad was there, I was like, oh, it's happening. I like collapsed to the floor. My legs were like, we need to be closer to the ground. And I was genuinely surprised. And the fact that Trisha Yearwood and Garth Brooks like showed up just to ask me, I was like, what is my life? It will go down as probably, hopefully my wedding's better. And when I have babies will be better. But so far, that's up there.
All right, I got a couple more. I don't want to keep you too long.
No, you're fine.
I can't imagine what it's like to what's it like to hang out with Garth Brooks?
You know what? He is such a nice man. Like,
tell me a story.
Women, man. When he meets women, he takes his hat off. Like, he's genuinely like, and he called himself that night. I said, Garth, thank you so much for coming. You know, I've met him a few times, mostly at the Opry, actually. And then he invited me to a show when Trisha, and a few years ago, I went to a show in Chicago or something to see them. But I was like, gosh, thank you for being here. I mean, Trisha, of course, I have a relationship with. I don't know Garth as well as I know her. I haven't spent as much time. And he goes, oh, hey, don't mention it. I'm just Mr. Yearwood tonight, which I love.
Mr. Yearwood.
Mr. Yearwood. He's awesome. He's awesome. And he teared up telling me about the night that you actually become a member is going to be the most special night. And I'm so excited. They're just amazing people. Both of them.
I feel like everybody in Nashville, Tennessee has a John Pardi story because that boy has lived a life. Tell me a John Pardi. Tell me the Lauren Alaina John Pardi story.
Okay. This is my favorite one to tell. So, John and I are very, very close. He's like my brother. I've known him for 8-9 years probably. We've done a million things together, 2 songs, countless nights out, just one of my greatest buddies. Well, I had a new boyfriend, and apparently this boyfriend made the not so smart decision to ride a bird scooter with this girl before he was my boyfriend. We were not dating at the time. John Pardi was filming a music video on, in front of the pedestrian bridge. It was the background. So they had, security guards on each side for however long that shot was. Well, my ex-boyfriend had gone through there, driven past the security guard, shooting his middle finger up, causing a scene, being very immature. And just acting a fool. Well, fast forward, I don't know, 6 months later, this guy's my boyfriend. I have no idea this has ever happened. We are in a bar. My boyfriend and I are there. And we walk up. And I say, John, I want you to meet my boyfriend. And he goes, oh, I know who your boyfriend is. Real funny guy. And I was like, yeah, he is really funny. Yeah. And he was like, I don't like that guy. He's not a good guy. In front of him. And I'm like.
What did you do? What did you do?
I was like, shut up. I played it off. I was like, shut up. You're so funny. And he was like, no. He rode a bird and he told me the whole story. And my boyfriend at the time was like, that wasn't me. You're mistaken. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. And then John Pardi's tour manager comes over and he's like, oh, you're the guy that drove through the background of our music video on the bird scooter. Come to find out, the guy wasn't very nice. He's a cheater and a liar and a faker in all sense of the word. This is one of the most horrific relationships, if not the most horrific relationship of my life. So now John Pardi gets to vet
I was going to say,
boyfriends.
You now have bouncers at the dating gate.
So if John Pardi thinks you're not good enough, I'm going to listen.
All right, I'll get you out of here on this. Thank you so much for all the time. Update us on what's coming. I know a brand new arena tour's coming, right?
Yeah, I'm going on to, it's mostly clubs and theaters.
Headline tour, yep.
Yeah, I'm headlining coming up in February through April. And we have the new album out, the book's out. I have it right here. You want to see it?
I love it, man.
For somebody. And, yeah, I'm excited. We're finally getting back out on the road. So get your tickets. It's called the Top of the World Tour. We're taking out Spencer Crandall, and I'm very excited.
I'm fascinated, too. I would love to chat with you about the process of writing your book. I'm going to let you go. We'll have that conversation another time.
Sure, let's do it.
The process for me was...
It took me a long time and a lot of my head hurts and I can't write another word right now.
Yep.
I have to.
I think that's a common refrain among many authors.
Very healing though. Very healing.
Same for me. Look, thank you. I'm so grateful for all of your time. I love your candor, and I meant what I said. You're impacting people's lives in a very positive way.
Well, thank you so much. Have a good one,
You too.
Marty.
Thank you.
Bye.
I told you guys you were going to learn a lot. I certainly did. And the grace with which she carries herself is inspiring to me. The whole National Anthem thing, I wanted to touch on it when we chatted. I did not realize we would broach it that quickly. And her sharing what that was like to be ostracized in the way that she was really spoke to me as well. I live my life in a way, I don't always succeed, but I live my life in a way that I want kindness to be the compass. I always want to try to take a moment and breathe and consider the world through someone else's perspective. Again, I fail in that aspect, but I try very hard. And I've had multiple conversations with multiple individuals of acclaim about that very thing, one of whom is Anthony Davis, the star that plays for the Los Angeles Lakers, who, when I spoke to him about this, he played for the New Orleans Pelicans. About stopping and pausing for just a moment and try to consider the world from someone else's perspective. I can't imagine going on social media and criticizing a 17-year-old kid for her performance of the National Anthem. I can't imagine doing that. But where we are now, with where social media is, especially certain forms of social media, there is a lot of criticism. In fact, that's just what people use it for. They use it to go on and try to tear someone else down in order for their own self-benefit in some way, shape, or form. I don't understand how criticizing someone, or certainly, criticism of someone's job, like there are people who don't like the job that someone else may do, and they go on and criticize them about that job. Fine. But don't call somebody un-American for the way that they sang the National Anthem. It's beyond my comprehension. I really appreciate Lauren taking the time to share her life with us. She's extremely busy. Congratulations to her. She's going to be a member of the Grand Ole Opry. If you're a country music star, if you're a country music singer, if you're a young kid who just got their first guitar, that's the dream. The Grand Ole Opry is the dream. I was just at when Dale Jr. had his Hall of Fame induction party for all of his friends. A buddy of his named Tim Duggar was with us at the party, and Duggar just got to play the Opry for the first time. And I asked him, what was it like? And it was everything he ever dreamed. He said everybody involved was so kind. And you pull into the parking lot, and they're like, oh, Mr. This is your parking spot. This is where you're going to be in the locker room. Travis and I had the opportunity once to spend some time with Travis Tritt at the Grand Ole Opry. And no matter how many times these guys play it, it's such a special experience. And to become a member is the ultimate endorsement. So congratulations to Lauren Alaina, to her family, to her entire team. What an awesome testament. And grateful that she took the time to share her life with us. And thank you all for taking the time to share your time with us, because it matters, man. And do me a favor, man. Go on there. Go find whatever your social media platform is. Your podcast platform is. Whatever it is. Go there. Rate us. Give us 5 stars. Give us a review. We're asking you guys for more reviews. I actually went on the other day because I want to start. Lainey gave me this idea. Her favorite podcasts take the time to read what you are writing to them. And I thought, man, I need to do that too, because I care very much about the people that are investing in us, using their time, taking their time to invest in us. And I couldn't believe it. There's like, I forget how many reviews. It was 300 or 400, I think. And our rating was 4.9. We want to get that thing even higher. And that's a great rating. We're grateful for that. We want it to be 5 stars from everybody. So go on there, offer us your perspective on that review, ask us questions on there. Travis is constantly monitoring that. He can give us that feedback and let us know what you're saying. When I went on there and I started looking at some of those reviews, I was blown away. And here's one of them. I love this. I would tell you who the review was from, but it was like 30 letters, and it was a lot to manage. This is what the review said. I love how many people they put on the podcast. It's such a great variety of different people, and I get to learn about those people and their lives like LV Shane. We had LV on a few weeks back about his album Backslider. It's one of my favorite records right now. I can't stop listening to it. And I'm glad that these folks are appreciating learning about the lives of country music singers or athletes or comedians. We have great interviews coming. Please continue to invest your time. It matters. Subscribe, rate, review. Reach out to us on social media, @Outsider, on Twitter, @OutsiderIG, on Instagram. I'm @Marty Smith ESPN on both platforms. So please reach out and let us know what you think. Share your thoughts. We didn't even get to some of the things I wanted to talk to today. One of the things I wanted to spend time on was something I randomly asked on the Twitter because I was doing a Peloton class and this song came on. I want to know what workout song hypes you up that you don't want your buddies to know about. We'll talk about that on another episode because we got so much unbelievable feedback, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of responses to that question. Travis went and pulled some of the best songs. It's funny, man. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you so much to our law enforcement officials all over the country working hard to keep our community safe, our fire and rescue, doing everything that they can every day to save lives. And thank you so much to the United States military. We are free for a reason. And I am so full of gratitude for freedom. Thank you guys for your sacrifice. Today, every veteran, we're grateful. Y'all have a great week. We'll do better next time. This is the Marty Smith Podcast @Outsider. Be good.